Hey, Grade 10s, long time no see. I hope that you are all remaining healthy. The same thing applies to your families as well. Remembering to wash hands on a regular basis, and if you have to go out, following social distancing guidelines. It's good to talk to you. I'm here to tell you about the next task, and that's to do with our novel for the semester, which is Animal Farm by George Orwell. You will be pleased to know, most of you will be pleased to know, that this task does not involve any writing. This task is a speaking task. A speaking task, Mr. Darren, I hear many of you shout. How are we going to do that? Email isn't big enough to carry that amount of data. You are right. I do not want you to email anything. What I want you to do is do what I'm doing and upload this to YouTube. But Mr. Darren, we're far too shy and people will see it. No, you can absolutely specify that when you upload your video, that only I can see it. So, no problems. This task technically begins on the 20th of May and has to be submitted by the 27th of May. You may start it in advance if you wish, and don't forget that you need to email me the link to the YouTube video. That's the only thing you have to email. Do not email me any videos. Email the link to darren.stoker@stjohn.sch.id. You can find all of this information in my campus, in the schedule, but I just wanted to kind of record this video to give you some idea as to how to approach this particular task. So let's look at Animal Farm. It's a fable. The idea about a fable is that it's a story that involves animals that behave as humans. Anthropomorphism was the word that we learned right back at the start of the semester when we were talking about this particular book. There are two film versions of Animal Farm. One was made in 1954, one was made in 1999. Let's start with the 1954 version. As old as that sounds, this is a colour movie. Actually, it's a cartoon. And all of the animals are voiced by only one actor. The story goes that this particular version of Animal Farm was paid for by the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency of the United States of America. Why do you think that was? Why do you think that the CIA would pay for a cartoon about a fable written by an Englishman 10 years or so earlier would be paid for and sponsored by the CIA? Well, as we know, the story involves communism and socialism, and in that particular era, in the 1950s, there was a Cold War going on between the Soviet states of Russia and the United States of America. It led to a build-up of arms. Everybody was building up their armies and their munitions, and it went on through into the 1980s when Gorbachev and Reagan decided to start and cool things down. Anyway, back to the actual story, 1954. Animal Farm is a very clear book. It has very particular characters that relate to people like Leon Trotsky, like Joseph Stalin, that we can recognize from the real world. But that book is there to give us a very particular message about the failure of communist leaders to follow their ideals. They revert back to corruption. And yet, the 1954 version of the movie, the 1954 movie version of the book does not follow the book. In fact, some very key characters get left out. This is going to be part of the task later on. If you decide to change the source material, you change the overall message. Let's take another fable. You might have heard of the story of the frog and the scorpion. The scorpion is at the side of the riverbank, and the frog says, "Why are you waiting here?" The scorpion briefly says, "I want to get to the other side." And the frog says, "Yeah, but you'll sting me, and we'll both die because you can't swim and I'll be stung." And the scorpion says, No, I promise I won't do that." And halfway through the journey across the river, the scorpion stings the frog, and the frog says, "What'd you do that for? We're both going to die." And the scorpion says, "It's in my nature. It's in my nature." And what it means is that some people who are naturally bad people can't change their nature. Now, what if I changed that story and said that actually the scorpion gets to the other side, turns around and says thank you to the frog, and they both go on their way? A completely different message is sent from that ending to the original ending. Same thing happens when you start leaving out characters and when you start picking and choosing parts of the book that you're going to look at. This happens all the time when you convert books to movies. If you were to take most novels and film them as they were written, they would be kind of like 10, 12, 20 hours long. This is why I guess a lot more stuff is being put onto serializations on TV, such as Netflix, something like The Witcher, for instance, which goes on forever, and they couldn't do it in kind of like a 2-hour movie. You could even say it's happening with the Marvel Universe, where they're kind of like making movies back to back, telling one story, but a little bit at a time, but each movie stands alone. But my point is that when you do this, you kind of like change the message if you have to take stuff out. What I want you to do in the task is to look at both movie versions and look at which characters were taken out and look at how the message of the movie changes by not having those characters in. So you need to look at the 1954 version. You need to look at the 1999 version. That later version was live action. It had got real animals, it had got real actors in it, and kind of like the animals were dubbed with their voices. But still, the movie is not the same as the book. There are different things that happen in the story, or the things that happen in a different way. Yeah, that might be because of technology and filming, but it still changes the message of the movie. So, to be clear, what I want you to do is I want you to make a video of you talking about the differences between the book and the movies because of the characters that were left out. How has that message that those characters implied, that gave to the movie, how has that now changed how people who only watch the movie and don't read the book receive the information? Minimum 2 minutes, maximum 3 minutes. If you have any questions at all you have to do is contact me online, on WhatsApp, send me an email, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Finally, let me be clear here. I do not want to know what the internet thinks. If you go to the wiki page for both of the movies, you will find lots and lots of information about the changes that were made. But what I want to know from you is what the characters that were left out, what happens to the message because of the characters that are left out of each movie version. If you've got any questions as to how to go about that, let me know. Good luck with the task, and I hope to see you all very soon. But in the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy. See you later.